Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, we're talking the Tinder Swindler. You guys, I watched the Tinder Swindler, man, that's hard for me to say, on Netflix. And I just had to jump on my mic and I had to talk to you about it. Oh, it's a very interesting documentary on Netflix. I loved it. I remember hearing bits and pieces of the real story when it was coming out, I think 2014, 2015. We do have a lot of great stuff coming out this week. I did part 2 of Dirty John, so my true crime is continuing there. You'll definitely be able to check that out probably later in the week. I'm excited about that. Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, I guess they're calling it season 2, even though it's only been a couple months. Part 2, whatever it is, at Dorinda's Bluestone Manor picks up Tuesday, so I'm going to be talking about that. Lots of stuff coming up. I'm still working on Sex and the City movies. I'm going to make Jay watch a little bit of Love is Blind, which is about to come back. I figured we'd do silly talk-throughs about what's going on there. So much stuff. Okay, let's get into the Tinder Swindler. But first, check out my merch, link below. I got Midnight Toast, Justice for Steve. It's a load of pants. Or find me on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. Okay, let's talk this documentary. Here's the deal. I took about 100,000 pages of notes. I was thinking of how to tackle this one. Let me first off say I'm going to be talking from start to finish. There's going to be spoilers. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. So if you don't want to know, just go ahead and click off. Come back to me after you've watched it. It is available on Netflix. That's where I watched it. It's actually one of the top trending shows right now. Okay. So the thing about this documentary is it's very interesting. If you're into people getting swindled, if you're into fraud, that sort of thing, which I am for whatever reason, so I enjoyed it thoroughly. The thing about this documentary is because I don't want to spill it yet, but basically because we're only hearing it from the girl's point of view. There's a lot of stock photography, there's a lot of stock video, meaning we get shots like this quite a bit. Yep, I took that picture exactly right. I didn't cut it off. This is just the photo they show us. They have to do it like this because they only have so many photos that the girls have taken of this guy. They don't have him on record. So, meaning Netflix doesn't. So instead of me doing my traditional thing where I go through, take photographs, discuss it all, I'm not going to be doing that the same way this episode because it's just impossible. You don't want to see 100,000 pictures of stock photography. It doesn't make any sense. Instead, I'm just going to try to flash between the girls because honestly, the two main girls are named Cecilia and Pernilla. I'm not kidding. So it's a little confusing. I actually, in my notes, started just because they go back and forth on their stories. Girl 1 is Cecilia, girl 2 is Pernilla, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but that's their names. Girl 1 Cecilia, girl 2, and I'll talk about it. And I have photos of them, but do you see what I'm saying? So between the stock photography, the crazy names, it gets a little interesting. So I'm just bear with me. That's all I'm trying to say. Let's go through this. I'll tell you what happened. It is confusing. There's about 100 billion zillion details as there are with documentaries, but I'm going to do my best and I'm just going to give you an overview of what happened. Jay had a really funny take on this because yes, I made him watch this with me too. So he has a funny take and I'm going to put that at the end when it makes more sense, but let's get into what happened. Let me tell you about girl 1. So she is living in London. She is from, I'm never going to say this right, either Oslo, Norway. And this is her right here. Her name, it's spelled like Cecile, but I swear they kept calling her Cecilia, so that's what I'm going to stick with. Okay. So she is the one that we get the most interviews from. We start off with her story. It's fascinating. So, she is an avid Tinder user, and by that, I don't mean judgment. I mean, she says it herself. I believe she said at the time she had been on there for 7 years. She had like over 1,024 matches. She's always chasing that feeling of love. Again, she says this herself. She's obsessed with Disney's Beauty and the Beast. So here's where I got to tell you about me. I have been married for a while and I never used Tinder. Tinder happened after I got married, so I have no idea. I've heard swipe left, swipe right. I don't know. I can imagine what that means, but I have no idea. So I'm probably going to say these terms wrong. But she's swiping through and she sees a guy she likes. His name is Simon. And she says immediately he has the quality she's looking for. He linked his Instagram to his profile, so she says that's a good sign. He has tons of followers, so she swipes right, I'm assuming, on him, and he immediately sends her a message. He says, "Hey, I'm leaving London tomorrow. Would you like to meet up before I leave?" So then he sends her a Google Map link. Here's Simon. Here's Prince Charming. The reason I tell you that about the Google Map link is that seems to be his MO as the story continues. He likes to show people where he's at. He likes to drop pins. He likes to show off the expensive places he's staying. And so he sends her a map link to the Four Seasons in London. So she thinks she's going for an hour of coffee, and she says she feels a bit out of place. She's early. It's very fancy there. She sits down. She waits for him. The elevator pings, and here he is. He walks out. Okay. So she says he's got this magnetism. There's something special about him. We find out he's in the diamond business. His last name I will never be able to pronounce correctly, but he introduces himself as Simon Leviev. He's the CEO of LLD Diamonds, and his dad is the King of Diamonds. So apparently their name is very well known in Israel. And just all of it, the setting he's in, the story he's telling, the pictures, the followers, all of it, it just all seems to back up his story. You can imagine where we're going with this one. So nearing the end of the date, he tells her, "Hey, I'm headed to Bulgaria on a business trip. I have to go by private plane. Why don't you come with me?" So she was so excited. She said she was trying to keep her cool, and she thought, "Yeah, sure, stranger, I'll go. I'll go with you. Why not?" So he sends a driver to take her home, grab her stuff, grab a passport, and then meet back up with him. So she's messaging her group of girlfriends, her like, "Girl, what are you doing? You're in danger." And she's like, no, I got this. This is great. She literally says, they're typing on the screen, "YOLO," and so she's like, "Okay, sure, yeah, I'll go." So during this time, we find out he has a little daughter. She's like, I don't know, 2-3 years old. And his ex is on the plane. It's her first date with a billionaire. She took some video, and we actually get to see the video in the documentary. So you see her sitting on this private plane. The ex-baby mama and the baby are sitting in a different part of the plane. It's all very odd. And this, again, girl one here is kind of kissing on his cheek and saying she really likes him. I mean, hello. It's again, very odd. So the reason I'm bringing this up, this is going to come into play later, this baby mama and baby. But for now, she just thinks she's on this whirlwind first date. And why wouldn't you be on a private plane, after going for an hour of coffee with somebody? Sure. So they land, and when they land, she's put in a car with, they never say the lady's name. That's why I keep calling her baby mama. But baby mama and the baby get in the car with girl number one here. And the mother keeps saying, "Oh, he's wonderful. He's a wonderful father." We never get to see pictures of her. I don't know where she's from. They have her completely blurred out, as well as the daughter. But she's saying over and over, he's a wonderful father. He still supports them. As soon as he gets girl one away from everybody, they're in an elevator. He kisses her passionately. It's their first kiss. She says they end up sleeping together. And later on, she notices marks on his back. She asks him what it's about. And he starts to tell her he's been in jail in South Africa. And she's like, "Say what now?" But she said he was very open about it, and she said he claims he was manhandled in prison because of, being Jewish, and she said things just went very quickly. Well, I'm thinking, no shit, you ended up in a different country the same day as your first date. Felt an emotional connection, things went well, he was opening up, and he was getting a ton of calls, so he tells her, I'm so busy, why don't I send you back to London? So she's bummed, but she's like, okay. She's thinking, I probably won't hear from this guy again, but what a cool first date. So when she gets back, he love bombs her. He's like messaging her, good morning, good night. He's FaceTiming her, I miss you, and sending her these insane bouquets of roses like you've never seen, these huge boxes of beautiful roses. She's saying, I have tears in my eyes, and she's starting to feel like she's his girlfriend, and they're really having an intimate connection over the phone and over text and stuff. So she's about to head back home to Oslo, and she says, hey, you could come home with me. Well, he surprises her. He takes a private jet in the middle of the night, and he flies to Oslo. He asks her, do you want to be my girlfriend? She says yes, and then from then on, they were together. So he's working on a $70 million deal. Again, he's in the diamond industry, and he's telling her how dangerous it is. He has a security guard, and he's been mailed bullets before. There's CCTV in Tel Aviv about people breaking into his place there, and security's warning him he's not safe, and she gets very scared for him. So she gets back home, and she's Googling I'm not going to say it, the Leviev family, where the family he's supposedly from. It's one of the most powerful families with ties to Putin, and she said she needed to be more realistic about what he's involved in. So then she doesn't hear from him a little bit. She checks Tinder, and she realizes, oh, he's got new pictures up. I don't know how Tinder works, but I guess you can mark that you're far away. He's far away now, and she's just freaking out. She asks him about it, and he says, no, baby, I'm not using Tinder. I deleted it. I only care about you. I miss you. Yeah. Okay, here is Pernilla. She is girl 2. She's looking for somebody funny and impulsive on Tinder. She posts travel pics, work pics, all that sort of thing. And she comes across Simon. Do you see a pattern here? So from here, you'll hear me call her girl 2. Again, she's Pernilla. She is from Stockholm. And so she talks about her story a little bit more. She didn't really feel a huge romantic connection with Simon, but she really liked him. And they had more of she said that he tried something at one point, but they had more of a friendship type connection. So he played that up, where she believed that his father was this diamond tycoon, and so she had dated somebody previously in the diamond industry, so she thought it was very weird that, this is number 2 in the diamond industry, but he sends a car out to her, and she goes to visit him. She ends up in Amsterdam, and he opens the door. He's very easy to talk to. They spend an hour together. They had a very special lunch, and he took her to a diamond museum. He knew all the details about diamond, where to mine them, how to cut them, all that stuff. So again, not romantic, but they really liked each other, or so she thought, and he would send her all kinds of voice notes and texts and calls and friendship bomb her. And she said one day she was having a really bad day, so he flew over from wherever he was just to have a coffee with her. And it really built up the connection. She really felt a strong connection with him. Okay, so now that you know about girl 1 and girl 2, here's where I can kind of generalize it a little bit, because they go into hours worth of detail. Okay, girl 1. She has almost 400 pages. They used WhatsApp. I've never used WhatsApp, but apparently you can just print off texts, no problem. It's got all the videos, the audio message, all that. 400 pages of text between them. Videos, audios. To the point where now that she's retelling the story, you can actually follow along and see how this went down minute by minute. So the first date was spent to lure her into thinking he was very successful. He was an emotional con man, and he was promising her so much, vacations. And then it kind of went into figuring out that she really wants a family. So he would promise her, like, building a life together, having this family. About a month into conning her, getting to know everything about her, he comes up with this, he requests some money, basically. He made her fall in love with him, and he kept talking about, this was a repeated theme that came up throughout this documentary, is his enemies. He has these enemies. What enemies? I don't know, but he says diamond business is very dangerous, and he has these enemies. So he's shown her how wealthy he is over and over. So when he explains it, he says that he cannot use his credit cards because his enemies are tracking him. This is a thing he does with both women. He sends pictures of his bodyguard all beaten up and bloody in an ambulance, and he explains it as somebody was trying to hurt me. The bodyguard stopped it. I'm lucky to be alive. I got to go off the grid, basically. So these women who at this point, girl 1 has completely fallen in love with him. Girl 2 has completely become like very close friends with this guy. They think, oh my God, I want to help him. So this is where stuff gets real crazy, because they don't say the exact amount, but they allude to it. That girl 1, it started with, hey, can you just send me a little bit of money so I can go off the grid? She's like, sure, yeah, I'm your girlfriend. Like, at that point, she was looking for places for them to live together. She truly believed they had something special. She starts Googling how to get quick loans. So she figured out how to first get a credit card. I believe the credit card was first, and she got a platinum Amex in her name. He even put her on as a fake employee at his company and said that he could vouch for her salary, even made her up fake paychecks showing that she made like $90,000 a month. So that way she'd have an unbelievable credit limit. They never said how much the limit was, but they said it was unbelievable. He still managed to max that out. Of course he is, if he's taking private planes everywhere. Every couple of days, he would max it out and make her recall the Amex company and ask for, say, yes, everything's fine. I need a higher limit. Meanwhile, telling her, oh, I'll send you the cash. I'll pay for all this. Don't worry about it. Then he tells her, listen, you need to come to Amsterdam. You need to bring $25,000. So she's Googling how to get these awful loans and bring him this money. So she's doing it. Oh, you guys, this is where I'm banging my head against the wall. She's Googling how to get these quick loans. So it's just one after another. And again, they didn't say exactly how much it is, but she's in for something huge. When she goes to Amsterdam, she says together she feels safe. She's grateful because she feels like she was able to keep him safe. But within hours of being there, security team tells him there's a problem. You need to make both of your Instagrams private. It's because he was all over her Instagram. So he wanted her to make that private. Simon pretends to get a call from his bodyguard. There's a security breach. They turn off all the lights in the house. She's scared shitless. And she sees that he's struggling. He says he has to go, and he just takes off leaving. So from there, he sends her, again, he's into sending these geotags. So he sent one showing that he's in Stockholm. Okay. So then we go to second girl. Same time that's happening, he lands in Stockholm, right? Nope, he's there to meet her. So he says, oh, you guys. So he has wooed her by sending her all over. He and his, God, it's so confusing. Okay, he and girl 2 are more friends. So he starts dating this other girl that's they show pictures of her, but she's not really in the documentary very much. she's just this gorgeous model. I believe they said either from Israel or Russia, and it's just stunning. And she's just basically along for the ride. And of course, girl 2 is just a friend, so she doesn't care that they're dating. And basically, they just decide, hey, let's travel around and have this fabulous summer. So they go to like Mykonos. They go to all these fabulous places, right? They spend it living it up, first class all the way. He's springing for everything, no problem. So we keep flashing between girl 1 and girl 2. Girl 1 is starting to freak out, like something's not right. He's supposed to be in Oslo meeting her family. He's not showing up. Meanwhile, he's out with she was Russian model and his friend, girl 2, and they were traveling around living it up, apparently, because girl 1 was paying for it. Girl 1, he's telling her the security team is saying that he needs to stay away, and girl 2 is talking about this grand suite that they stayed in with a pool and $5,000 a night, and girl 1, he's taking money. He gets another $20,000 out of her. It's just these crazy amounts. Okay, so then he starts hitting up girl 2. He tells her, hey, we're in trouble. There's security, blah, 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 my enemies. He starts feeding her the same line. So she's like, oh, well, clearly he's good for it. It's fine. She's been saving up a bunch of money to get her own place. So she's like, fine, I'll just give you, she ends up giving him all this money. They didn't say exactly how much it was, but how much she had saved up to get her place. Then he sends her a voicemail saying, hey, can I get you to get me $30,000 more? It would be such a huge help. She doesn't have $30,000. So again, she takes out these loans. We see he's promising her, basically he'll overpay her. And so she's like, fine, sure. So she figures out a way to get the money. She sends it to him. Okay, so back to girl 1. She is freaking out. She's starting to realize, oh my God, this is not right. He's not sending money back. He pretended to give her a check at one point. Of course, you can imagine it did not go through. Things are desperate and dire for her. There are 10 creditors that are after her. And she can't do, there's just nothing she can do. She calls her mom, and mom says, you got to come back home. We'll figure this out. So she goes back home to Oslo, and she's having thoughts, depressive thoughts, of taking herself out. And it's just terrible. Absolutely awful. She ends up putting herself into an institution because she just can't handle it. And he switched to being a complete asshole, where he went from, this lovey-dovey to he started getting cold, and now he's being mean and threatening and sending these voicemails. She has all these audio messages he sent, and you guys, it's just awful. So she has this idea while she's in the institution. She's like, I need to get this story out here. I need to do something about this. So she contacts these journalists. So this is one here. They work for, I believe it's called VG. It's supposed to be the biggest paper there in Norway. And they say, you have to show us proof before we can start investigating this. Of course, she has hundreds of pages. I believe it was 400 pages because of WhatsApp. So she sends it over, and they're just like, whoa. So they start looking into it, and they start to figure out this guy is not, of course, not who he says he was. His name is not even Simon. I'm never going to say this right. I'm going to show it on the screen. So this is his name. He's from Israel, and she sees where there's a famous journalist. His name is Yuri. He's Israeli. And so these journalists in Norway decide we're going to go to Israel and link up with this Yuri guy, and he's going to help us figure this out. So they go over to Israel. They end up finding this Simon's mom's place, and she explains he's a con man. She hasn't been in touch with him since he was 18. He uses many names, and he's been into fraud ever since his late teens. So then we find out the backstory. In 2011, it seemed to have started where Simon was suspected of stealing checks from his employer. He was supposed to be in court to go over that, and he ended up leaving the country. He forged a bunch of documents, and he just got out. So he's still wanted by the police in Israel. Journalists don't know where he is now. They're trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, girl number 2, she says that he's still hitting her up to borrow more money, that he was supposed to have transferred money back. She sends him another $10,000, and she gets this. I think at that point she was in for like 60 maybe. No, I'm sorry, 40. And he says, I'm going to pay you $100,000. So she thinks she's coming out 60 ahead. You can imagine where that's going. When the money doesn't arrive and she talks to him about it, well, we see he freaks out. He says, I'll give you a watch. It's worth $100,000. So part of this documentary is over and over. He loves to do these voice messages. So you can just hear him. He switches. It's like, it's the most insane thing you've ever heard. He switches from, hey, baby, to, I'll get you, like just these very scary, threatening messages. We saw it a lot with girl 1, especially where they're in a romantic relationship where he was telling her, I love you, I want to build a family with you. And then he'd be like, I'll ruin you, I'll take you out, you don't want to mess with me. You double cross her, all this stuff. Once she started canceling credit cards and blocking him. So same thing with girl 2. We get these awful messages. I am going to let Jay jump in here because it's pretty funny. He had a funny observation about what's going on with these messages.
Hey everybody, this is Jay, also known as Dr. Bad Vibes on YouTube. I thought I would interject because I watched this along with Jen. She's doing a better job explaining it than I can, but I had to point out while we were watching it, the Simon guy, voicemail that was very much like a scene from Happy Gilmore when the girlfriend breaks up with him early in the movie. It kind of went like, hey, so I kind of need money for plane tickets. Do you mind sending that? What do you mean no? What do you mean no? I will break you! I'm sorry, baby. Sometimes I just get so mad and I yell because I'm just so scared. So anyway, money, please. Baby, I'm sorry. Sometimes I just yell because I'm so scared. Anyway, about that money.
Thank you, Jay. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Over and over, leaving these crazy voicemails. And if you've seen Happy Gilmore, that is a hilarious scene. He's yelling into a speaker, talking to the girl leaving him, saying, like, F you, it's over. And then he'd run back to the speaker and say, I'm sorry, baby, I didn't mean it. That's exactly what this guy, as he got more desperate, that's what he was doing, leaving these insane voicemails. Okay. So we've learned about girl 1, girl 2. Let me tell you about girl 3. Yes, there is girl 3. There's actually girl 100,000. There are so many women that have come forward. It's so fascinating. But let me tell you about girl 3. So girl 3 is Ayleen Charlotte. She lives in Amsterdam. She meets up with him quite a bit around Prague, the Czech Republic, that sort of thing, flies back to Amsterdam. So as she is boarding a plane after leaving, she'd been seeing him for 14 months. She sees this article that's come out. Now, the girl number 1, remember, went to the journalist. That article came out, and it was big. It's called The Tinder Swindler. And she was completely in shock. She saw it as she was about to take off for her flight. So she downloaded the article, put her phone on airplane mode, and read it all the way home. And right before she had sent this to him and said, what the fuck? He was like, oh no, baby, these are my enemies. These are, again, the enemies thing. These are people trying to get my information. It's all bullshit. It's not true. You know that. Okay. So she's reading this article and realizing, oh my God, he's doing the same thing to me. So remember how girl 1 had 400 pages of texts and videos and stuff? Well, the article posted those, and she said he literally was sending her the exact same videos, exact same pictures, exact same messages. The same way he'd say good morning and stuff. At this point, he'd been swindling her out of money. They allude to that she somehow got $140,000, and he took it. I mean, she gave him $140,000 by doing the credit card thing. And she feels like she's just absolutely freaking out. And so she's like, I've got to get this guy. So she plays the part of supportive girlfriend. She's like, I don't believe it. You're great. We can still make this work. Those girls are bitches, That's literally what she says. So she's saying things like, good morning, I love you, I miss you. Meanwhile, she's like, how can I get this guy? She gets in contact with girl number 2. She finds her on, I believe she said Instagram or one of those, and contacts her and says, hey, I think I have this. I think this guy you're talking about is my boyfriend. So she starts working with the police, and she comes up with this plan. She's like, well, a lot of his money is in his clothing. He apparently loves these name brands, and like we see him in luxury clothing all the time. Well, he's running out of money. He's running out of people to swindle, I guess. He's been through the population. I don't know. But he knows he's kind of running out. And she can't get any more money. So she comes up with this idea. She's like, hey, why don't I help you sell some of your clothing since it's so expensive and worth a fortune? She works in fashion. She knows how to do that sort of thing. So he agrees. So she goes to meet up with him. She had to pretend like she was still into him. She had to spend the night with him to not throw him off. She said it was just awful. But he believes she's going to take these and help sell them, bring him the money. Well, you can imagine where that's going. She ends up stealing his clothes and taking the money. And it didn't compare to how much he stole from her, but they were showing amounts ticking up. It was well over $10,000 that she made selling his stuff on eBay. So I say good for her. She's awesome. She was really struggling. She felt like that they had a future together, and she just realized what a piece of shit he is. And so I know it's just, I've been talking for 30 minutes. It's a lot. There was just so much information in this thing. It just gets so complicated. But during this time, when she's selling his stuff, he believes she's going to bring the money to him. He kind of lets on that he's still lying to her. He's like, I need to get a flight somewhere. Why? Because I got to do business. But she figures out while he's messaging, he actually is on a flight. And she starts to figure out where he's going, what flight he's on. She sends it to the authorities. She also figures out his new alias he's going by, David Sharon, I think they said, but David Sharon. And so she is able to alert the authorities, and voila, he gets arrested. So girl 3 calls girl 2, who ends up calling girl 1, and they're so happy because he's arrested by Interpol. He's been using fake passports. They get him on that. They send him back. I believe it was in Israel. He was sentenced to 15 months for the crime he committed in Israel. You guys, it was so exciting up until the end, and this is where things really are going to piss you off and piss me off too. Here we go. So they're ecstatic. He's been arrested. They think, oh, yay, we can finally get some money back. We can get some restitution. Here we go. That's not what happens. After 5 months in Israel jail, he's let out. And since his release, he's launched a website offering business advice. And he's advertising a business and personal success workshop. That bodyguard he kept talking about, Peter, yeah, he's still in the picture. We still see them working together. He had a business partner along the way. They're still working together. So remember I talked about the mother of his child and how weird that whole thing was? Well, she apparently had taken him to court right before girl 1 went on that flight. So they never straight up say it, but what I'm gathering happened is he had taken money from her too. She just somehow worked out a deal where she would get her money back if she pretended like he's this awesome man and boyfriend. Or whatever, ex-husband, whatever the hell. This awesome man who paid full support, and he's a wonderful father and all this bullshit. So she seemed to be part of the con too. even though months before she was taking him to court saying he was a deadbeat dad and not paying for anything. How crazy is that? So the business partner and the bodyguard, even though they're involved in the scam, they have not been charged with anything. Simon has not been charged with the credit card stuff because technically the women took them out in their names. And so they're still on the hook for all the money. Amex, they talk about, had sent out investigators. I believe it was to woman one. She opened up on everything that he had done. They recognized him and said he's been doing this, but she's still on the hook because I believe it's because along the way when she'd call for increases, she kept saying, yes, it's me. Yes, I'm using this money. I just need you to up my limit. Wow. Okay. So, oh my God, it got so frustrating. We find out he is living in Israel. He is, now that he's served his time, there's nothing else against him. So he doesn't have any outstanding charges. It's all cleared up, apparently. I wondered what happened with the checks thing. Remember from 2011, they literally show these videos that he keeps posting where he's showing off his Bentley and his Ferrari. Girl 1, girl 2, girl 3 still paying off their debts. And they literally say he no longer appears to have any financial problems. So they figured out, it's estimated that he has stolen approximately $10 million across the globe. Since his release, he's been back on Tinder. His girlfriend is an Israeli model. And the people that set up the documentary actually asked Simon to be a part of it. And funny enough, he left them a message since that seems to be what he likes to do. And they play the message. And again, it's a Happy Gilmore style yell-a-thon where he says he will proceed with a lawsuit with defamation. Everything is a lie. You guys, it was such a good documentary until this ending. I'm so pissed off. When you Google, this is the kind of shit you see. He's a free man. He's showing off these fancy suits and fancy cars and fancy things. He's just living it up and he's advertising it. And he's back on Tinder and he's a jackass and he's posting things like this. And I hate this guy. For whatever reason, they felt the need at the end to tell us girl 1 is still single and back on Tinder. And I'm thinking, oh, girl, no. Might be time to take a break. That sucks. And that's how the documentary ends. I'd only planned to talk for like 10 minutes about this thing, but there's so much detail that it wouldn't make sense, and it may still not make sense. I don't know. If I didn't fill you in. So that's why I had to go over girl 1, girl 2, girl 3. It is fascinating until the last 10 minutes, and then it makes you want to bang your head against the wall because, I'm curious. This is where I want your opinion. You got to leave me comments below based on, if you watched it, if you didn't watch it, if you just listened to this review of it. What are your thoughts? Should the girls be on the hook for the money because they took it out in their name? I don't know. It's so crazy. He said, they kind of alluded to, he found out the perfect crime because all he can say is, I didn't do it. I didn't put in my name. They did, I don't know. I think about that credit card though, that came in a false name. How do you not get in trouble for that? How are you not in trouble for the original check stealing stuff that he did, years ago? Just all of it, running, skipping out of the country, Israel, when he was supposed to be in court, things like that. Why is he not serving a longer time? Why did he only get 5 months? I'm very curious. So, you guys, that's it for me. I'm sorry I went so long. I did not plan on doing that. My head's spinning a little bit. I hope this made sense. I hope you enjoyed it. If you watch the documentary, it'll make sense why there's so many details. But again, I actually enjoyed it. I was just mad at the last 10 minutes, but it's just basically because I hate Simon. But I thought the women were fantastic. It's easy to sit and judge as I do, and say, oh my God, they're so stupid. Why would they do that? But I do feel for them. These are real people, and they're very upset to the point where, they're contemplating scary things, and they felt threatened, and they felt like they're in danger. Just horrible things you wouldn't wish on anybody. So for that, I feel terrible for them. It's fascinating. It's just very interesting. I don't know. I'm into fraud. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check back. I got lots of great stuff coming out. I thank you so much. Hit that thumbs up if you don't mind. It really does help out the channel. And I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.